Hello. Hello, everybody. How you doing? I'm gonna make the camera stay still for. Oh my gosh, what am I stepping in? Oh, that must be like the Blarney Stone or something. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. I'll make the camera stop though. Camera, calm down. Okay, there we go. Hello, welcome. Oh my gosh, what is that? I think I would do what that is.
Just resubscribed for 8 months. 8 wonderful months.
Wow, 8 wonderful months. Thank you for that. Thank you, Rose Winsome, for the resubscription at tier 1. Actually, with your Prime. Very wise to use your Prime and save a bit of gold. I'm kind of doing a St. Patrick's Day thing a little bit early because I usually stream on Thursdays, so I'm dressed like a leprechaun. It's okay, it's not super culturally insensitive because my human counterpart is half Irish. Though me, Ziggbee, I'm not Irish at all!
Just resubscribed
That's
for
okay.
11 months. Ziggbee heart hug, Ziggbee pride, Ziggbee heart hug.
Oh, thank you, Solar. Thank you for resubscribing. 1 month tier 1 subscription for a total of 11 months. Thank you. Oh, Irish, what do you say? Blessed be luck be with you. And also with you! No, just kidding, I don't know. I should say hello to everybody. Who's here? Let's see here. We have, whoa, there's a lot of you here. There is a Sandman, welcome. Kappa Pride, hello Kappa Pride. Tatum Pancakes, Noah, Small, Shane, Isaac Dorn, hello. Strawberry Delight, Mr. Bozy B, Morning B, Elena. Wait, that's Alicia, I believe, right? Alicia? Let's see here. And Kate Kirby, hello. First time chatter, Pumpkin Queen Official. Hello, Pumpkin Queen Official. Welcome, first time chatter. Everyone keep an eye on Pumpkin Queen Official. No, I'm kidding, welcome. Hope you like the stream. I'm Ziggbee, magical talking enchanted ferret. Kind of silly. Don't take me serious ever. Maybe sometimes, I don't know. Use your discretion. I spent a month in Ireland last summer, and it was lovely. It sounds lovely. I've never been to Ireland, unfortunately. Well, my human counterparts
for 2 months.
has family from there, I believe. Wow, now rage. What is this rating? I just started streaming. This is a scuffed stream, by the way. Thank you, Nerd. Oh, Nerdy Nanny again. Nerdy Nanny, what's? Listen to me, Nerdy Nanny. What are you doing? Nerdy Nanny, what you keep rating me for? Thank you, Nerdy Nanny. Everybody follow Nerdy Nanny. They've been kind enough to raid me multiple times when I was doing Ring Fit Adventure and when I'm streaming right now. Thank you, Nerdy Nanny. What were you up to? I love your Irish outfit. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Because I try not to fall over. What were you playing today, Nerdy Nanny? I just started streaming. Nice fit, thank you. It's adorable. Oh, by the way, everybody, Sib will not be joining. I know there's a lot of fans of Sib here. He's not joining. He had a very long, very busy week, and he was kind of like tired of stuff. So I was like, he's busy and stuff. So yeah. So you're stuck with me. Deal with it. Doing some VRC. Yeah, well, that's awesome. I love VRC. Well, that's where I'd stream from usually. So, yep. As you can see, I'm in like this place. This place is called, let me go look what the sign says. It's called the Irish Flower Pot Bakery. I think you can actually mix things and make things today. I'll show you what I mean in just a moment.
169 cheer decks 100. Spam the crabs.
Thank you, Kappa Pride, for the 100 cheered bits. Thank you. I don't think I welcomed everyone in from the Nerdy Nanny group. All you viewers from Nerdy Nanny, hope you, I don't know what to say. Trying to be like professional and stuff. Otter shouldn't have to be so busy. I agree, Mochi Dragon. I agree with that 100%. Hello, Morning Bee. How you doing, Small? You're all talking to each other. I love it. Oh, there's Werewolf Billy. Oh, you're wearing the outfit. I actually had this outfit probably for a year, maybe 2. I think I had it for a year and a half at least. But yeah, Looks perfect. It's so nice to see you. Nice to see you too, Werewolf. I got to catch a little bit of your stream, and I got to learn how you became interested in the 70s. What? No, the 70s, 80s and 90s music. That was fascinating. Because I'm interested in that. Because I'm very old. Why am I malfunctioning? What's going on here? Ziggbee. Classic VRC. Oops. What the? Ooh, this. Wow! Don't do that. Oh my gosh. Okay, never mind. Hi, all you beans. Hello. Imagine being old. I can't imagine it. Actually, yes, I can. I'm very old. I'm ancient. I'm an elder one. No, just kidding. I'm not. I'm not that old. I don't think I might be. I don't know. What do you think of the music, by the way? It's called Irish Pub. Oh, what we're doing today? Oh, today what we're gonna do is got a fan art to show, and we'll also be playing some Pictionary. I don't know about this music track though. I might go to the next one. Is that any better? Is the music too loud? Hopefully it's not. Strawberry, you're older than me? Probably, Strawberry. Probably. Costume one!
Costume done just gifted 5 subs.
Oh my gosh, Costume one. Dropping the subs like a boss. Baller. What other words can I use? Poggers? Thank you, Costume one, for the very generous, huge sonation. How we call it? Subscription. Subscription. I was gonna say dump. What do you call that? The drop, huge subscription drop. Thank you, Costume one. That's huge. 5 subscriptions is a lot of subscriptions, and very generous of you to do. Thank you for being a huge, big bean OG community supporter of this content. I really appreciate it, and hopefully all those of you that got gifted sub, enjoy it. Use the emotes. Treat yourself. All right, what am I doing today? Oh, let's start with art though first. Small made a beautiful piece of art. You want to see it? Yes, Ziggbee, we do. That's fantastic. I'm going to show you. Here it is. Isn't that adorable? It's adorable. I'm going to make it into emotes on the server. I'll have to do it probably later tonight. I'll outline them and cut them out, and then we'll have emotes from Small that are adorable. I believe that's inspired from the TikTok. I don't know if it's TikTok filter or Instagram. It might come from TikTok. There's a filter that works on animals, and it gives them like big cartoony eyes. I've been seeing that pop up on my For You page recently too. Can you make stickers instead? Are you making just emotes? I could make both, Shane. Would you like me to make both? We do have some sticker slots still available, so I might go ahead and do that. Thank you, Small, for making this. I know you probably just making it for fun. You said just being goofy and stuff. I love it though. Show me all the goofy stuff. I love it. It's beautiful. It's adorable. Thank you, Small. That's all we get, fan art. That's all we get today. Wait, why did it zoom in on me? Apparently we're having serious talk now. No. There we go, it's better. Whoa! Gravity here is like super light, by the way. Whoa! Makes me like fly away. Let me check my Discord just a moment. I want to see what's going on here. Boop 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 test. Yes, I will periodically look into the secrets Discord server stuff. Maybe, we'll see. End of stream, I probably won't. I'll be too. I won't be paying attention. Oh. Oh, cute. That is so cute. What is cute? Oh, yes, the art is cute. Yes. Can I be cute too, by the way? Jump scare. No jump scare, Sandman. Sandman, I hope you're feeling better now. You were not feeling so great earlier this week. I'm glad you're feeling hopefully a lot better than you were. And get to eat lots of yummy foods and stuff. Don't fly away. I might. You want to see how far I can jump here? Whoa, ready? I'll go on the floor, though, so it's not like cheating. Watch. Whoa! Whoa! That's too much, though. They have like oversized snacks here too. They're all green. Like this looks like a little Debbie. Well, it's not so little. It's not so little, Debbie.
Zazzy
it's quite big.
Just resubscribed for 15 months.
There you go.
I'm late again. But yay, 15 months being subscribed.
Whoa.
I say it all the time, but thank you for all the laughs and smiles. And you still are the best talking ferret in the world.
Aw, thank you so much, Zazzy Ferret. That's so sweet of you to say thank you. 15 months is a very long time. Thank you for the tier 1. 1 month for, I said like twice. 15 months! Yes, thank you, Zazzy Ferret. Who's wants some? Oh, I want to. Oh, so the things we're gonna do is this. I don't want to keep shaking. Eat! Little Debbie's be gone! Don't tempt me! I want to get sweets after stream, probably. Why am I shaking still?
The _ Sandman _ just resubscribed for 24 months. 24
Sandman?
months. 2 years
Whoa.
being a bean. I love you all, platonically, also loving the fancy heart. Ziggbee heart hug, Ziggbee pride, Ziggbee pride, Ziggbee pride.
Thank you, Sandman, for resubscribing with fancy tier 2 again. You're still with the tier 2.
73 just resubscribed for 24
Thank you for the 24.
months,
I'll show this message read. 2 years. Wow, geez, that's both of you. You're both 2 years. Sandman, thank you for the tier 2. Very generous, very fancy. Being subscribed for 24 long months. Thank you for that. The music like went quiet, now it's all dramatic. I don't know what's going on. I love you too, Sandman, platonically. I love you all very much. You're all very sweet and kind. But why did I put a button there? But Kyle, thank you for subscribing with 1 month tier 1 to be subscribed for also 2 long years. Oh my gosh, I'm doing this for too long. I think I need to quit. Oh, well, what we're doing today, I'm like just repeating myself a million times. We're doing Pictionary, and at the end of stream, I'm gonna do something strange aside from me shaking all over the place like I am right now. We're gonna do a luck roll. I'm gonna make a brand new roll tonight. So there's 2 things you can get tonight. You can be the weekly Pictionary champion. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Or you can have the luck of the Irish. Or you can have luck, the luck roll for the entire week. Now I'll explain how you do that. Probably you might use the thing over there. There's like a what do you call it? A bingo type ball thing where numbers come out. So I'm probably gonna have you guess a number, and then figure out who's closest to the number. This might be confusing, but we'll see. Who's the luckiest? We'll find out later in the stream. Whoa. Woo. Okay, let's draw stuff. Zigbee's on the clock here. Oh, I can tell you something else too. I'll tell you something else too. Hopefully next month, April, sometime in April, I hopefully we'll drop some merch or something. Probably spring merch, okay? Just so you know. Well, I'm sinking to the floor. I gotta figure out if I want to go with the same provider or try a different one. I always worry about quality and stuff. And it's like, I don't know. I want it to be good quality. But yeah, look forward to that next month. I'm gonna get a pencil, and the pencils here are like snakes because it has something to do with Irish. I don't know. I don't remember the snake, the snake stuff, but yes. Does anyone know the snake stuff about Irish? Did they have a snake problem in Ireland? I think so. That's where it comes from, possibly. Woo! It's a snake pen. I love the stuff I have got so far. Oh, thank you, Costume One. Thank you. That was, yeah. So, yes. This is like a cane, by the way. Can I just walk with this? Yes, I can walk with this. If I get too old of a ferret, I can use a cane. It actually looks kind of cool. Beep, beep. Let's do the first word, shall we? Enough goofing off. I'm always goofing off. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible at reading stuff, like secretly. It's obviously I'm reading stuff. Let's see here. We'll go into, there we go. Let's see if this works. Ready for the first word for Pictionary? Start the round, let's see if this works correctly. Hopefully it does. Okay, can I write over here? Woo! Oh, by the way, they're St. Patrick's Day themed as well, just so you know. It's almost kind of spring too. The answer is rainbow. Rainbow is the answer. Let's see who got that. put it over there. Show me the round scores. Computer. Okay, let's see. I should make this bigger so I can see it probably. Oh, that's way better. Now I can read it too. First place, we got Solar. Popular fan of the rainbow, instantly identified it. Second place, we have Rose Winsome. And third place, we have two people. We have Lavender Luna and Isaac Doran. Congratulations. And Shane's on there too. Hello, Shane. Shane, you're number 4th. And also 4th place person is Small and Nerdy Nanny. Nerdy Nanny, you're playing too? You don't have to stick around and play if you want, if you're tired or anything, but thank you for sticking around. We'll do a couple more. How's that sound? Hide the scores, computer. Thank you, computer. But seriously, I'm gonna get candy after stream probably. Is that okay? I'm gonna get probably some sour candies. What candies should I get? I'm probably gonna get some chips. I want some like Ruffles cheese chips. Oh, those are really good. Ruffles cheese chips. Maybe I'll get a sandwich from a place. Do you know on the East Coast they have something called a Wawa? Does anyone know what a Wawa is? Have you ever heard of Wawa? It's an East Coast states. Yeah. Yes, Mount Laurel knows. Yeah. Pumpkin Queen knows. Gas Wawa. Werewolf Billy knows. Yeah, that's right, Soul. It's like a gas station, but the food's actually good there. It's pretty decent. They make it for you on the spot. You use usually a touch screen. You push it and you pick what sandwich you want, or you want some mac and cheese, you want salad or something, and then you push, boom! And you get a receipt, you pay at the register, and they bring the receipt back, and you give it to them, and they give you your food, and you get to have yummies, and it's really nice and convenient. It's very popular on the East Coast. A lot of people love the Wawas, which they make pretty good sandwiches and stuff. I have a BLT, sounds really good. BLT! BLT, I'm gonna get a BLT probably. I typed rainbow first, but it was like, nope, you ain't first. Shane, lag is very deceptive. Latency is very deceptive online. You know when you play online games and stuff, and you see people walking around, it's like all an illusion. No one's where they are actually on your screen, but the game lies to you to make the illusion and the game seem real, which is incredible, actually. Let's see here. It shows me first 2. No worries. If you're on your phone, though, make sure you push the gear icon and try to look for the option that says low latency. That'll make it so you can go a little bit faster if you're on your phone. Hey, oh, there's Alincia. Hey, Ziggbee, I'm looking cute in your St. Patrick's Day. Well, thank you. There, I did a little dance for you. Let's do another word, because I don't know what I'm doing today. Wait, what is this? I'm looking at stuff. Sorry, never mind. Everything's fine. Oh my gosh, what is going on here? Oh, I'm gonna read what Tatum says in secret chats. I don't know if lore behind the snakes would be... What? Set up for knowledge? He's getting a chance out of the Ireland. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can read all that. I don't know what that is. Hey, if you want to learn about that stuff, look on Google maybe. I don't know. Or make it up. That's what I do. Like, I'm not really, like, yeah. Let's do the next word. Next prompts. Can I even do this one? Start the round. Let's see. Let's see if I do this. Why not go like this? I don't know. Let's see here. Oops, can I do it? I gotta draw it to your perspective. Whoop. Let's see, what else can I draw? It's green. I was trying to draw grass and then money and then a shamrock. 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 Wait. Show me the scores. For green. Okay, that was a little bit harder because it's just the colors, so it's kind of like confusing. You got first place for that is Small. Second place is Paige Mustang. Third place is Tatum. Tatum. Krabby Cakes. Saltiest Krabby Cakes. and fourth place is Kyle. Good job, Kyle. Good job for sneaking in there. Very good job. I'm gonna read chat now because I don't know what's going on in chat. I cheat, Tammy says. Tammy, you're not supposed to say that you cheat. You're supposed to just cheat and not acknowledge it. That's very bold of you. That's very bold. Very crabby, confirmed by Tatum Pancakes. Welcome, Tammy Beans, by the way, too. You made it. Congratulations. I heard in chat you make yourself some nice chicken soup from scratch. That sounds very fancy, by the way. I just get chicken soup out of a can. I love you, Ziggbee. Love you too, Strawberry Delight. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's do more. I'm on the clock still. Can I do a jig? Well, get out of here. Where'd I put my snake pen? Oh, there it is. I found my snake pen. Snake pen, could you make all this disappear? I really appreciate it. Thank you, snake pen. Okay, calm down, snake pen. Don't do that kind of stuff. That might be scary to people. Show me the next word, magic computer. Start the round. How do I draw this? I don't know. Is it too turned? Hopefully it's not too turned. Actually, would it be like this? I think so. I don't know. Leprechaun! I was drawing a leprechaun. Actually, it's kind of a long leprechaun. They're usually a little bit smaller than this. Probably about my height. No, I'm not a leprechaun. I might be a leprechaun. They're actually a little shorter than this. Quite a bit shorter. They're about my height, actually, I think. If I recall correctly. Hopefully I spelled it right, too. I entered these words, by the way. Show me the scores for leprechaun. Okay, let's see here. Okay. A lot of you got it. Good job. I'll read the first three people. The first place is Kappa Pride. Might be a leprechaun. Might be a leprechaun that got it so fast. So it's a little sus. Second place, there's two people. Paige Mustang and Lavender Luna. Third place, there's two people. Shane and Rose Winsome. Good job. Good job. Excellent. What is this epic music that's playing? It's like a build-up music to excitement. This is the third word, I believe, right? There's the second word. I'm not paying attention. Let's do more. But first, I'll check in on chat to see what's going on. How sus? Very sus. I think, is Kappa Pride a... Listen, I'm gonna find your... Oh, okay, I'm coming.
Kappa Pride 169 cheered X100. I pulled up Google when you said it was St. Patrick themed, so I knew how to spell it X3.
No, now you're cheating. That's pro tip. That's how I find the word. I shouldn't say that. Then you know where to get the words. Third word. Thank you, Shane. Love you, Zippy. Love you too. Thank you. Crap, Mother Mickey. Very sus. Wait, first time chatter. Everyone stop for a second. Everyone stop. Where's the music stopper? Okay. Let's go and get rid of this. Let's get rid of this first thing. Let's go and hide the score. Okay. We have a new person in chat. Their name is Samuth. Samuth, a love games. Hello. Welcome to my part of Twitch. How you doing? Are you spicy or anything? Do we need to watch you or? I'm like super suspicious of everyone that's like brand new first time chatters. Let auto spell finish. Yes, if that works for you. Sometimes auto spell changes my word to something completely wrong because I don't know how to spell things sometimes, and then it gets even worse. Ziggbee, you're the best. Thank you, Paige Mustang. As you can see, my reviews are 5-star. Huh? Very impressive, right? I have been here, but I got longed out of my account. What? Oh, no worries, Samuth. I'm glad you're here and you're hanging out with all of us. I guess I can start the music again. Everybody, I think we're safe. I think we're safe, everybody. Everything's safe, okay? I'll start the music again. Woo! Oh, I'm sinking. Okay. I don't know about that jump here. Oh, I didn't show you. What I was talking about in this place. Like when I take a bowl, I make it follow me. And I get some eggs over here. Like, well, I actually get one egg. Let's get one egg. Put it in there. Put it in the bowl. Bam! Okay, now we got eggs in there. I need the... Where's this mixer? And I'll go over here. And then mix it up. Okay, let's go mix it up. There we go. Got to put up the speed. Now we got scrambled eggs. Wait, what am I supposed to put next in there? Some kind of powdery pouch. Let's see. I think I found some. I think it's this stuff right here. I don't know what this is. Is this like flour? Let's put some flour in there. Voila! Now what do I do? I need to... Oh my gosh, it's going through my head. I need to find out what's next. Let's see here. Is that butter? Oh, I love butter. I love butter. I had some potatoes and carrots today that were boiled, and I put butter and seasoning salt on them, and it was delicious. Oh, there's the butter. I'll put the whole tub in there. You can never have too much butter. Yes, you can. That's not good to eat too much butter. There we go. Magic. What am I supposed to do next? I'm supposed to whisk it and add something else. I don't know what the other thing is though. I'll have to read the box and see if I can figure it out. Faster, faster, Ziggbee. Okay, there we go. And then what's the other box of stuff? Is this more flour? I can't read that. I don't know what that's. Oh, I'm spilling it everywhere. Let's just put it in there because it says I have to do it for the ingredient. Maybe it's is this sugar? No, that's wheat. Probably the other one was sugar. Okay, there we go. Let me test it. Ah, no, that's that's wheat. I don't like that too much. Well, when it's cooked bread, it's good. Let me mix it up.
169 cheer Dex 100 sugar Rex 3.
But yeah, that's my point. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go through all the steps. There's a lot of steps here. Because I'm gonna put it into a pan. Hey, what is that? I have to put more or a separate bowl. But let me see. I have to put more. Let me try this though. If this recipe's correct. No, this doesn't take more.
Susie just gifted 1 subs.
Well, I'll show you what I'm looking at though, by the way. Whoop. Whoa. Come with me. These are the recipes right here. Can you see that very good? I'll come a little closer. Apparently if you just follow this, it makes stuff. So I added the butters up here, and then I added some of the wheat over here. And then it says you can go over here. Oh, maybe put the two together. Sorry, everyone's like doing so. Thank you, Tamma Beans, for the very generous direct tip. Someone else gives up something else too. Thank you, Tammy Beans. That's very, very generous of you and very, very kind. Thank you, Tamma Beans. Thank you very much. It's kind of you. Support this silly little ferret. Even on Scuff streams. Kappa Pride, thank you for the 100 cheered bits. Oh, that sugar times 3. Oh no, that's a face. I did like an old person thing. Suzy Q, thank you for the 1 gifted community gifted sub. Thank you, Suzy Q, for being a bean community supporter. I give you luck. Oh my gosh, I don't want to do that. I give you the luck of Irish. There you go. A little bit more. We should see if there's redemptions and stuff. Is anyone doing redemptions? I'm like. Group hug. Morning bee. Done. Morning bee, come here. Anybody else who wants hugs? Come here, come here. I'm sorry, I might get some sugar and flour on me, but I'll give you hugs, okay? I'll try not to put it on your clothes, all right? There you go. You'll hug. There you go. You get big hugs, okay? There you go. Aw, thank you. Thank you, Paige Noah. Thank you. Tammy Beans, rehydrate. Thank you, Tammy Beans. I'm a little bit thirsty. I'll get some water. I'll get some water. I wonder what does that make though? Oh, it makes like cookies. Wait, why would you put the cookies in the micro? Oh, that's not a microwave, that's an oven. Oh. Delicious. Very delicious. But yeah, that's cool. If you're in VR chat and you want to check this place out. Wow! It's called the Irish Flower Pot Bakery. Come here. Oh my gosh. Come here, camera. Come with me. Whoa. Up here. Thank you. That is like the pot that's just floating there magically. We'll put this over here to sit. Oh, let me try. Maybe it needs 2 bowls. Take the other bowl and put flour in it? No, not the butter, the flour. Oh my gosh. And then pour it in there. It's not working. Wait, maybe turn like this. No, it's not the ingredients though. It's supposed to go over to... I'm sorry, but I'm just goofing off, honestly. Let's try this again. On the recipe, it said like this box thing. Am I supposed to do something with it? Whoop. I don't know. Next word. That's all right. Yeah, it's all right. I didn't know you could cook in VR. You can in some places where we're building. They have to support it and make code for it so it functions and stuff. This is like the second place I know where you can cook stuff, it seems. There's actually a kitchen place too. You can make stuff kind of. Breaking things? I'm always breaking things. Are you kidding me? What's that? Where's my snake pen go? Come here, snake pen. Whoop. Next word. Start the round. Dun, dun. How do I draw this? I know. That's right. It's luck. I think I might put lucky in there too, possibly. I was trying to think of what things are considered sometimes lucky. I don't know why a horseshoe is lucky. Sometimes they hang them on the door, I think. I don't know why that seems dangerous. 4-leaf clovers, they sometimes exist. And rainbows are kind of lucky too. You can see them because they're cool. It's actually just a diffraction of light through rain water or other waters. You can make rainbows. Wait, is that a way to cheat to find the gold fast? Oh, sorry, I got distracted. Let's see the score for luck. How many of you are lucky enough to guess the word luck? Show the round scores. A lot of you got it. Whoa. How many is it total? 17? First place for luck is Paige Mustaine. Second place is Rose Winsome. And third place, there's a couple people. There's 3 people in the third place. Tatum, saltiest crab cake, small and solar. Good job. I give you golf claps in celebration. We might do 2 or 3 more Pictionaries, and that will be to conclude the Pictionary portion of the stream. No. I think those things are throwable. There's like a whole bunch of baked goods in here. They're all green though. Can I grab 2 things? Wait. I can grab 2 things, right? Yeah, 2 breads. Whoop. Breads that are green. What kind of breads these are? Yeet! I would eat them. They look pretty tasty, honestly. Just food dye in them. Delicious breads. Fresh bread's the most. I'm sorry, Tammy Beans. You can't eat bread. How lucky of you, Tammy Beans. Woo! Let me check what's going on Discord too, because I need to check it occasionally. I see Sandman laughing. Okay. I think he has this muted. I can't hear you. I have to go manually look if you're talking. Yes. Whoa. I should have it read in Discord. Not Discord, I meant like chat. Because I like that it reads messages in TikTok sometimes for people.
Salem
I should occasionally like read them here too.
We subscribed for 14 months.
Take care, Samuth. Samuth. Hope you join us again sometime. Oh, thank you, Samuth. Wait, no, that's not right. Salem of Eldritch. Thank you for resubscribing 1 month tier 1 to be subscribed for 14. Why have I never recalled saying your name before? Okay, now I have a mystery for everybody, for myself actually. It's for myself basically. Salem of Eldritch? Did you change your name or something? Because I almost remember never saying that name. Of course, my memory's not very good though. Thank you for being subscribed for 14 long months. I changed my name. Who were you originally? Reveal yourself. Tell me your crimes. No, just kidding. How can we say that but not Samantha? What? What do you mean? Samantha. I said Samantha. Well, when you put it like that, I can read it. Yeah, I don't remember that name, and I'm the Void Master. No, VOD. Oh my gosh. Video on Demand Master. Thank you, Paige Mustang. Thank you for being a lore master and keeping track of things. It's the gluten memory fog. Tammy, I adore you. You are right. I like your gluten-free propaganda. I'm just kidding. It's not propaganda. I get fogged because of probably that. And lots of other things too. I don't think eating sweet stuff is healthy. I'm gonna eat lots of sweet stuff tomorrow. I'm not even joking. I'm just gonna like lose control and just like and then just have like on the floor, and I'll be like, ah! I can see time and stuff. Look, I'm shaking right now. Why am I shaking for real? Is this like foreshadowing? No, stop doing that. Maybe the tracker's getting covered or something. Stabilize. What is going on? Give me a moment, everybody. I need a moment. Which means I need a Snickers bar, probably. What is happening? Let me try a recalibration, see if that fixes. Recalibrate. Okay, am I shaking still?
Kappa Pride 169.
It's better now for now, okay.
It wants you to dance.
It wants you to dance? No. Okay, I'll do a little bit of dance. Do a little jig for you. All right, we're playing Pictionary, right? Next prompt. Start the round. Where'd my snake pen go? Snake pen. Okay. Oh, why? I'm doing it at the wrong angle. I apologize, everybody. I need to draw it like this. I think I already got it, though. Whoop. That's right. It's a cloud that's raining. No, I'm just kidding. Show me the round scores. We have 12 people. First place on that. It was, what was it? Shamrock? We have Rose Winsome. We have Small, both first place. Second place is and then third place is Solar. Good job, Solar. Many other amazing people on the list too. I'll read all your names at the end for the final score. Not bad for a dragon who's AFK. What? That is impressive. If you're AFK as well, Solar. I think you've been watching streams so long, you know how to read my crude drawings, perhaps. I think some of you do know how to read my crude drawings really quickly. We'll do one more. Let's do. I don't know how many more words I have. We might have 2 more. Samantha. What? Famous whispering in secret chats about Samantha. What about Samantha? Did I not say it right the first time? Covered corned beef. What? Am I losing my mind? What is corned beef? Is that something that's Irish? I'm not sure. It sounds like it might be. I don't know. You never win? Tammy! It's okay. Tammy, at the end of the stream, we're gonna do a luck game. You might get lucky, okay? Wait, that sounds weird. You might have luck, and then we'll give you a roll that says you're lucky, if you can get it, though. Next word! Rapid fire. I need to draw it this way. So I can see it correctly. You see this one? Do it like this? Yes. Yes, you can. This one might be 2 words or have a dash in it. Both are in there. Whoa! Wow! Wait, let me see if you're saying it right. What are we saying here? Lucky clover, charm. 2 words. Put 2 of those words together. Oh no! It's not working right. Oh no! I put like 2 variants. You're saying it correct. It could be 1 word if you have a dash in it, but it's 2 words. At least that's what I put in. Is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. The answer is 4-leaf clover, or also acceptable is 4-leaf clover. Both acceptable. What are people saying? Are people bad now? No. Oh my gosh, did I enter that wrong? The heck? Leaf clover is 7 words. What? No, it's not. What do you mean 7 words? Suzuki disqualified. Okay, listen. I had to hurry and put in words for St. Patrick's Day, okay? I had to put 4-leaf clover. I didn't know how to put it in. I had 2 slots to use. Let's move on and pretend that didn't happen. Whee! Next prompt. If you like that one, you're gonna love this one. It's 4 words, kind of. I'll draw all over here. Whoop. Whoop. Oh, that's right, it's a soup. It's a cauldron full of soup. No, pot of gold. It's a pot of gold. Well, you put the gold, obviously. You put it in a pot. I don't know why are you putting gold in a pot? Hopefully it's not a non-stick pan. Listen, if you have a non-stick cauldron, do not put metal in it because the non-stick surface is very toxic if it gets chipped off. I suggest stainless steel pots. Random tangent. Okay. Actually, I have some non-stick pans. I'm worried about them. Your non-stick surface is very toxic if it gets rubbed off. With metal, that's why you never use metal in non-stick pans, because it will chip away the stuff. That's my what do you call it? Advice of today, I guess. That's only 3 words? What did I say? Did I say it was 3 words? I think I said it was 3 words, right? Or did I say 4? Woo! Non-stick pot of gold! Oh, that's 4. No. You said 4 words. Listen, my brain is not working anymore. I think it checked out like last week. Listen to me. I'm gonna be honest with all of you right now, okay? I was so low energy this week. I was so low energy this week. It felt like I was jet lagged. I was exhausted. Oh! That's part of why I didn't stream any on TikTok. I don't know why, because of time change or what happened? Or change of something I was eating? I don't know. Feel bad for you, Ziggbee. Thank you for your pities. I love the pities, especially the free pities. Thank you. I was fishing for the pities and I got it. Starbrain, I'm very Starbrain small. I'm getting worse. I was hoping to get better though, but I don't know anymore. But anyways, that's enough rambling from me. Next and probably last word, if we even have one. Oh, wait. Oh, I didn't show the score for that. Oh my god. Wait, can I show the score for that? Let's see.
Kappa Pride 169 cheer Dex 100.
Is this the right score? Thank you, Kappa Pride, for the 100 cheered bits. Woe is me. Thank you, Kappa Pride. That was kind of sassy reply back to me, I think. I'm not sure. Okay, what am I doing? First, oh my gosh, you weren't kidding, Small. There's a lot of third, oh, never mind, I'm getting numbers wrong. First place, Kappa Pride. First place, also, Tatum, the crabbiest of saltiest crab cakes. And then second place, we have Mochi Dragon. Wait, Mochi wanted to be called something else. Didn't Mochi want to be called something else? Was it Mochi Dragon? Wait, Mochi Dragon. Mochi Dragon, what did you want to be called? Did you want to be called something else? I know there was like a double dragon that wanted to be called, is it Rex? Is it Rex, I think, possibly? I don't remember. I don't remember. I was Black Dragon. I'm Mochi now. Are you delicious? Mochi's like those little cookie things, right? I spam pot of gold on every answer. Kappa Pride, don't know. Brute force it. Oh, third place, there's 4 people. There's Tammy. Tamma Beans. Tamma Beans.
Featuring Gratchia
Paige Mustang. Noah, Werewolf Billy.
It's been a tough week. I'm happy I got home before the stream ended.
Oh, Featuring Rat. Welcome, Featuring Rat. Our resident expert of Furbies. I'm just gonna give you that title. Welcome, Featuring Rat. I'm glad you can make it. You're missing nothing. This is the most scuffed stream still today. Every time I do scuffed streams, just to let you know. But some people like it though, so I'm gonna just keep doing that. Hide the scores. Start the round. I'm just yelling now. Can I just yell the whole time? Just keep yelling at people? I'll throw it over here so you can see it. Boop, boop, boop. You know what? There's a lot of similar shapes today. You notice that? There's like a lot of similar shapes. That's right. It's a wait, did I start it? Wait, everyone stop. Stop, everyone stop, everyone stop. I didn't push the button. Wait. Next prompt, next prompt, next prompt, next prompt. Oh my gosh, where did it go? Oh no. Wait, I'm getting close. Wait, almost there. Oh, come on, where is it at? Am I close to it? No, not that, not that. No. Okay. Start the round! Jeez. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. My nose is getting cold and it's getting cold. Why is my nose getting cold? No, I know I'm a ferret, but it's getting cold for some reason. Horseshoe is the answer. I don't think I have horseshoes on there. I don't think I have the plural one. Super magnet, that's right. It's a my delium. I forget what I forgot what the strong magnets are called. Something of denium or something like that. Magnet, which are magic, by the way. You can make perpetual motion machines with it. No, just kidding, you can't. Perpetual motion is not possible, everybody. I learned that the hard way. By thinking it might be possible. Surely the magnets you have are magic, and they are not. So yes, if you ever see perpetual motion machine, spoilers, it's not real, but you can have high efficiency though. That's a possibility. Things about being efficiency. Oh my gosh, we need science literacy, and I need some too. Not with earthly logic, Ziggbee. What do you mean? Like I can literally use magic and cheat. But in your logic reality, yes, you cannot do it, unfortunately. Though some people can be fooled to think it exists, though. Very fascinating. Magnets attracting luck. Is that possible? I need to test that. That's a good idea. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. I like that, Mount Laurel. You can be like a scientist like me. I want to do crazy experiments. Like if you roll dice. Okay, follow me on this one. If I was to roll dice every 5 minutes, right? What would roll, right? What if I, instead of every 5 minutes, I decided within the 5 minutes when to roll the dice? Would I change the outcome? I don't know. We have to test that, okay? Oh, I'm just rambling about crazy stuff. I didn't get the one right. Which one? Let's see the scores for that. How do we do? Round scores. 17 of you. Again, 17 of you. First place, a name I'm not familiar with. Who are you? Let's see, Hector Bronze? Hector Bronze. I have never said that name before. I'm gonna look in chat. Reveal thyself, Hector. Me. What's the last part of your name? From the from the boys game. I used to be Hector Bronze, if I'm saying that correctly. Who's a hacker, Kappa Pride? My boss walked in a second time. Tammy, don't get caught. That's part of the game. You're a super spy. It is your job to watch the stream and not get caught. Do you accept this mission? You already have accepted this mission. Don't know how I didn't get that. It's okay. First place is Hector Brown, if I'm reading that right. Solar, second place. And third place, there's two people, Noah and Small. Congratulations. Yes, sir, Ziggbee. Thank you, Paige Mustang. I appreciate that. Right now, my boss is my uncle. Oh my goodness. Okay. Hopefully they're more lenient than an actual stranger boss. I don't know how that works though. Soul got first place. Well, Soul is very smart. I should be asking what Solar eats, so maybe I should copy what they eat so I can get smart too. Can you just get smart by eating good foods? I think you have to study and stuff and go to school for that though. To get smart. Oh my gosh, there's things I have to get. Paige Mustang wants me to eat something. Oh, I gotta go find something. Hide the scores too, computer. Can I reach this stuff up here? Oh my gosh. Oh, look at this. Is like, what do you call this? They like weave it like hair. It's like bumpy. It looks terrible though. Yeet! It looks like an old gummy bear. Didn't make it. Also, we have a redemption for Boings. Tammy Beans, I will do you Boings. You want double Boings? Okay. Boing! Oh! I'll do a Boing forward, okay? Boing! I made it right to the counter with that epic music too. You impressed? What music is playing though? Woo! Parkour. Very impressed. I think that was the last Pictionary word. I could do more, but that was the ones for St. Patrick's Day. I have some spring words, but we're not doing those yet. Maybe next time. Whoa! Let's see. You want to see the winner of the Pictionary champion this week is? I did the redeem small. Okay, I'm yelling. Oh, Kappa Pride wants hugs too. Kappa Pride, come here. Kappa Pride, come here. Come here, I'll give you hugs. Come here. No! Okay, fell off the counter. I'm fine though. Let me move the camera a little closer. There we go. There we go. Let's try that again. Let's try that again. Okay, now I hope it won't fall off the counter, okay? There you go. Get some hugs. There you go, Kappa Pride. Anyone else wants hugs, I'll give you hugs too. And don't ignore my shaking. Maybe I had sugar. I don't know what's wrong. What do you mean? Karma. Whee! Whee! Oh, sorry. I'm giving out free boings. I shouldn't be doing that. That's not good business practices. Okay, let's see who the winner is for the weekly Pictionary champion for our St. Patrick Day theme Pictionary. Computer, show me the lucky. Computer, show me the lucky person at first place. That's oh my gosh! 27 people are playing. First, oh my, whoa! 79, very awesome number. The same number, the element of gold, one of my favorite numbers. Small got 79 points. No doubt who the winner is. Oddly enough, an opposite looking number. We have Rose Winsome, the second place. It almost looks like a reverse because the 9 looks reversed. It's almost like, yeah, never mind. Those are some cool numbers together, by the way. So congratulations to Small, first place Pictionary champion again. How many times have you been Pictionary champion, Small? Big brain Small. How many times? Is this the 4th or 5th time? That's amazing. Good job, Small. Everyone else will now be mad at you and jelly of your smartness. Small, I'm just good. Get on my level, lightheartedly said. Very impressive, Small. I will read everyone's name. Honorable mentions if you played the game, I really appreciate it. I hope you had fun playing it, even though it's kind of silly and random and sometimes scuffed. We have Rose Winsome, Solar, Paige Mustang, Kappa Pride, Shane, Tammy the Crabbiest. Tatum, the crabbiest of salty of the cakes. So, Doran, Lavender Luna, Werewolf Billy, the Sandman, not Sandman, it's the Sandman, Pumpkin Queen, Mochi Dragon, Noah, Susie Q, Hector Bronze, Bronze, I think that's right, Lean Goddess, Mount Laurel, Nerdy Nanny, you're still here. Oh, they might have left though, but you did get on the board. Tammy Beans on there as well. Kyle, Morning B, Taylor, woo. Hey Foozy, Strawberry Delight, Tammy X. Who's this Tammy X person? Anyone know who this Tammy X person is? And Peach Ring Rat got in there at the very end. Congratulations on getting on there. You don't win anything, but I read your name. Is that awesome or what? No, I don't know if that's awesome or not. I'm probably gonna mess up people's names. Anyways, congratulations to Small. Let me check the Discord, make sure there's no fires or anything. Oh, let's see here. Okay, thank you, Solar. Yeah, Nerdy Nanny Raiders at the beginning of stream. Yeah, that's right. Sometimes they do that though, which is perfectly fine because they're probably tired after stream, no doubt. Nerdy Nanny was here. Yes, indeed they were. They were kind enough to raid me. Why they chose to raid me is beyond me. They've raided me a couple times, which I really appreciate. I hope they know that. Great round. Thank you. Thank you, Mount Laurel, as well. What's next, everybody? What time is it? I want to get snacks. It's almost been an hour of stream. Oh! They want to see what we're going to do for the luck one? You ready? You excited? You pumped? Who wants the luck of the Irish? Who will win luck of the Irish for a week? I don't know. At first I was thinking I was going to pick the number, but then there's this cool device over here you just push and it comes up with a number, which sounds pretty fun. It's going to be Mount Laurel's very confident about this. Mount Laurel, do you know witchcraft? Is that why you're confident? I'm just kidding. I want the luck. Kappa Pride, desperate for the luck. I don't know why I'm laughing about. I just laugh at everything. You know I have nervous laughter, right? Sometimes I laugh at things I probably shouldn't be laughing at. You feel lucky? Well, that's, you know, that's how you get some luck. It's just feel lucky, no joke. If you're confident and you feel lucky, you get a bonus to luck. That's real in your reality, and no joke. Let's go, follow me. Follow me, everyone. Follow the lucky ferret. Ooh, where's my gold? I don't know. I'm not going to show you. Here we are at the machine. At the bingo machine. No, Tammy Bean, don't say that stuff. That's not where I put. Who would put their treasures under the couch? That doesn't make any. Oh my gosh, don't check under the couches. You streamed on TikTok tomorrow? Oh, you streaming? Oh, that's a good question. Tomorrow I'm probably gonna like just zone out and be eating candy a lot. If I feel super motivated, I might, but no guarantees. I probably won't. Usually Friday I just goof off all day, eat candy, watch TV, and do absolutely nothing. Actually, it's not true. I do some stuff earlier than day. I do some basic cleaning house stuff, and then I take the whole day off. And I was like, day off, rest of the day. But we'll see though. We'll see. If I ever do, if you're following me on Twitter and Discord, I will do an announcement if I stream on TikTok. Okay. Woo! Let's see how this machine works. If you can see the number, the game's not starting yet. Let's see what happens. It should show you the number, right? It doesn't show you? Oh, you gotta face it. Then I can kind of see it. Okay, so that's kind of how it works, everybody. I'll explain it just again so you're clear on what's gonna happen, okay? Everybody, this is your chance to get a roll I'm gonna make tonight. It may not be immediately available, but I'm gonna try to, after I go shopping after the stream, I'll try to work on some Ziggbee stuff and make the new roll. It's gonna be like the luck roll. Do you want the luck roll? You gotta go with 69.
I'm walking down the street.
What is this song? Oh my gosh.
I'm dancing through. Everything's about.
I might start at the top of the playlist. There we go. Oh no, you'll do that one. Okay. So this is how it's gonna work, everybody. When I say it starts, you can start guessing numbers. The number I'll just copy from this list of bingo lists. It's from number 1 to 75. All right. If two you get the same number correctly, I think you both will get the roll. So if multiple people use the same number, yeah, you'll get to use it. You only get to guess once, okay? So don't try to sneak in 2. I might have to watch the VOD later to confirm absolutely that is correct. And I want chat to help me too, in case I do get it wrong. You can shout at me who got closest to the correct number. Are we ready to see who? Paige Mustang, that doesn't count yet. Wait, Ziggbee. Oh, yes, Small, what's up? Am I missing something? Can we choose same number? Yeah, you can choose the same numbers. Love your dance. Oh wait, thank you, Paige Mustang. Turn the camera away. Do the then see who gets it right. No, I could just push it afterwards, right? Does that make sense? So when I say go, everyone starts guessing, and then I'll push it when we're done. I'll cut it off. There'll be a cutoff time. When do we choose the numbers? We wait for the signal? Yes, you wait for the signal. Okay, ready? Okay, and you say go. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna count down from 3, and you can put your guesses in. 3, 2, 1. Guess your numbers now. Go for it. You have a little while to guess your numbers. Let's see. We got 27. We got 7. We got 25. We got 35. We got 16. Oh my gosh, we got 69 on there too. Everybody, counting down, gonna stop. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we cut off at Paige must. Oh, no, Mochi Drag, you put 2. You stick with 67. It stops at Paige Mustang, says excellent. Roll. Who is the luckiest being here? Tell me. Reveal to me your secrets. Number 68. Oh my god, Moochie Dragon has 68. 69 is very close. Did anyone get 68? I see people that are close. I see 2 people that are close. 69 is closer. 69 was... Where'd it go? It was Cap Pride. 67 is close, but 69 is closer. Actually, no, that's both close. So what do I do? No one chose 68, but 67, 69 were picked. What I think we're gonna do is if you guessed 67 or 69, you get the luck roll. You were close. You were very close to being on the actual number. So if you guessed 69 or 67, congratulations. You get the lucky roll. The lucky roll for the week. Oh, big God. Oh, the shamrocks. Oh, four-leaf clovers and rainbows and horseshoes. I might have to review the log to make sure. Let me see who got it in there. The chat keeps jumping back up.
69 cheer decks 100 in the best tongue.
Ooh, thank you, Kappa. I'm the best. I'm the best around. Let's see here. We got. I'll have to review it later. The chat keeps jumping up back and forth. You need to make only one have the roll. Shane, I'm the captain here. That's no one got close enough. I'll give it to the two people that are very close. Actually, that makes sense. Okay, listen to my logic. This logic is flawless, Shane. Listen to this. Listen to this. Since two of you, I think at least two of you got it. Technically, that luck is split 50-50, which is fair. You're not getting 100% luck because you didn't guess the actual number. But since there's two of you or so, it's splitting the luck. So it's not as potent. See? It all works out. It's like equilibrium or something. Three got close. Okay, well then it's 1/3 the luck. My mouth just made the weirdest sound when I was talking. Let's go back to the bar. Let's go back to the bar. You think the number was 89? No, it's right there. Oh. Wait, does it change if I go backwards? No. It's it's on the board too. You can see it. I don't know if you can see it from here. 68 for sure. I can see it. What's the lesson we learned today? Oh my gosh. When in doubt, always guess 69. Camera, follow me. Camera, where are you? Camera, you gotta follow me. No, camera, come on, follow me. Wait, I can do this. I'm really good at this. Wee! No. Beep, beep. No, let's try that again. Wee! Boy, oh my gosh! Maybe don't watch me. Everybody stay here for a moment. I need to jump up. Okay, that didn't stay there, did it? Oh, it did. Boing. There we go. Oh my gosh. Forget it. I'm staying on the floor. I keep falling off everything. Oh, let's go on the food. That sounds weird. Let's go into the food. We're gonna stand on the food for fun. I want to eat something like that. Here you go. You can have some if you want. Here, have yourself a treat. Have some delicious cakes, okay? There you go. There you go. Just eat the whole tray. There you go. That's perfect. There you go. Well, everybody, pizza and tea. Where's tea and pizza? Oh yeah, you're right. That is tea. Probably some Irish tea. It's got some kick to it. Sorry, I'm being goofy. Everybody, that's gonna be it. It's gonna be a short stream. I'm gonna go head out and go to the store and get some sweets and maybe some treats and some candies and candies and candies and maybe some more candies. Hope you had fun on my scuff stream. Hopefully I'm gonna stream more on TikTok eventually or not. Who knows? I'm so unpredictable. Be safe. I will, Pumpkin Queen. Thank you. I will be very safe. You deserve it. Thank you, Tama Beans. Thank you. Yes, snacks. I was looking to share some snacks with all of you. I would get us some chips and donuts and cookies and cake and soda. It's probably terrible to eat all that stuff. But I hope you all have a great weekend. Did you celebrate St. Patrick's Day? Have a great St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. And yeah, if I just stream during the weekend, I'll go ahead and tweet it and put it in Discord and all that good stuff so you know that I'm going to do it. And yeah, wait, Alincia, are you still here? Alincia, reveal yourself, Alincia. Alincia, are you streaming tonight? What time are you streaming tonight? Or I think, wait, did you already stream? Or did I miss it already? Oh my gosh, I think I missed it. I think I missed it. Oh no, I streamed an hour before you. Okay. Okay, that's fine. That's fine, don't worry about it, that's fine. Werewolf Billy, you streaming tonight? Are you gonna play some, I think you played Skyrim and I missed that too. Are you doing anything else tonight, Werewolf Billy? Hope you're a gay day, y'all. Thank you, Small, that's a great saying to say. I'm playing some Skyrim. Thank you, Billy. Thank you. Werewolf Billy's gonna play a very handsome, attractive cat. I don't know what the race's names are in Skyrim. I'm terrible, but he's very adorable and cute and handsome. I'm sure, yes, but yes, check out Werewolf Billy if you want to watch more content for fun. Woo! If you're bored or anything, and that's it. I'm not gonna say that word, Werewolf Billy. I don't know how to say that. Kahajit, and a Kahajit. I'm going to steal your stuff. They talk like that, kind of like, right? All right, everybody. I gotta lock the camera too. It's gonna follow me, and that'd be weird. I'll head out. Have a great weekend. I love you all very much. Sid loves and misses you all very much too. I love you platonically, only platonically. Okay, I'm married. If you want a hug, come here. I'll give you hugs. Okay, come here. I'll give you hugs. I'll give you hugs. I'm giving you some lucky hugs. I'm gonna rub the luckily Irish on you. Did I forget anything today? Oh, beans. Oh. Some of my moderators are getting mad about me not giving enough stars. Alex, where are you? How am I supposed to give you stars if you're not watching? Okay, everybody, I'll give you Dazzle stars, okay? There you go. You get some Dazzle stars. I'll give you some big ones. There you go. There you go. You get some Dazzle stars. There you go. And there's my beans, too. Okay, I'm gonna zoom these out of here. I wish I could kick these things. Goodbye, everybody. Take care. I love you all very much, platonically. Be safe. Have fun on the weekend, hopefully. And see you again, hopefully, very soon. Goodbye. Oh, I'll give you all boons and blessings from a magic leprechaun ferret. Many boons and blessings, everybody. Many boons and blessings. I'm gonna zoom these away. Oh, I go this way.